wrestling fans, are you ready? For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, let's get ready to rumble!
And now, please welcome at this time your hosts, Graham GSM Matthews and RJ Marceau. You're listening to the next era of wrestling radio. This is WrestleRant Radio.
We're back here on WrestleRant Radio for March 27, 2025. Mere weeks out from WrestleMania 41. We have a lot to get into, a lot to get honest about here today on the road to WrestleMania. The good, the bad, and the ugly. But joining me per usual is the one, the only, the illustrious Mr. Marceau. Brother, what's going on? Oh, Mr. Marceau, brother, can you hear me? Oh, I think I may have lost him. I don't think he can hear me. Wait, give me a second here. Mr. Marceau is joining us, but I don't think he can hear me for some reason. Mr. Marceau, brother, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
You know what the funny thing is? I was talking to you for like 5 minutes. So the video is live now. Hold on. When I say talking to you for 5 minutes, I don't mean like on the air. I mean like I had the back end on. This isn't your fault, by the way. Let me preface that by saying this. This isn't your fault. I forgot to add myself. It was just you and the thing. I've been here the whole time. I was fucking looking at you. You left. You came back. But the show wasn't on. It was just on the background. It was just the intro music and shit. And then I just said, what's going on? And then you were sitting there on your phone. I'm like, why can't he hear me? And then I went back to the thing. It said I wasn't in there. All of that to say I apologize. Brother, what's going on?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I thought it was going to go live and you weren't here. I was prepared to say I was hosting with John Cena here today because you can't see him. Although he said that joke died like 10, 15 years ago.
Oh, GSM. I'm like, I literally texted you. I'm like, where is this kid? Like,
I know.
Did you get by a train?
I know. I've been here. I'm sorry.
I was like, you're like, I'll be right back. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, I'm going to get a snack before we start. And then all of a sudden you popped in. I'm like, oh, here he is.
So I was here the whole time. And then I literally said, oh, yeah, we're going live in a second. But you didn't say anything. But I figured you just heard me. And you were like, okay, I'm just going to go do something real quick. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Oh, man, that's funny. But we're going to get going here. I was just saying we're going to get honest about the road to WrestleMania here today. A few other things to get into as they pop open the chat. Tyreek was here a moment ago. He was just here a little while ago. We said, howdy, Graham and RJ. Tyreek popping in, the purveyor of Love Ziggler himself. We still don't have an answer to that. But Tyreek was here a little bit earlier on. Hashtag Love Ziggler in the chat. Nathaniel joined a little bit earlier on. He said, hi, I would love to see Rated FTR win next Sunday, but I would also love to see Cope and Christian versus FTR for the tag titles at All In, potentially. Let's see what happens. I'm fine with either one. I do think we are getting FTR versus Cope and Christian for the tag titles, probably at All In, so you'll probably get your wish, Nathaniel. Daniel said, of course this freaking guy shows up when no one was around. Talking about Tyreek. Listen, that's the Tyreek gimmick at this point. That's just what this guy does. He pops up when we don't expect him. Millennial Noob also joining us, saying good morning. Millennial Noob, what's going on, dude? Hope you're doing well. Nathaniel also saying, I think Saraya is going to WWE. Do you guys agree? Well, we'll get into that in just a moment. That's going to be my lead topic here in a second. But we go live here every single week on WrestleRant Radio, WrestleRantRadio.com, WrestleRant Radio, or WrestleRant.com, rather. You can find all the audio for every single episode, every single Thursday, and live also on the YouTube channel. So be sure to like the video, subscribe, hit the bell button to be notified every single time we go live and upload a new video. And you can get Mr. Marceau's ranting thoughts about the road to WrestleMania here on today's show and every single week as we head on in to Las Vegas. Richie also joining in saying, hello, gentlemen, howdy, chat, and Tyreek, come back. I think Tyreek's going to pop back up again later on, as he always does. And Ahmed's also here saying, what's good, Graham? I'm doing well, Ahmed. Hope you're doing well as well. Thank you for joining us. Mr. Marceau, we are on the road to WrestleMania right now. It doesn't exactly feel like it. We'll get to that in just a moment. I want to start with this for you, though. Saraya, we just tweeted about this, or we're DMing about it yesterday. announcing her departure from All Elite Wrestling after a couple years stint. She had debuted there in late 2022 as part of a new podcast that she started up, I think with Entertainment Weekly or whatever it is. She announced on her first episode that she is leaving AEW. And, she's expressed some interest in other recent interviews while promoting her new book that came out this past week of going back to WWE, which seems to be on the table for her. Don't know if I could say the same thing for WWE's end. So, instant reaction, Mr. Marceau, to Saraya announcing her departure from AEW and what you think is next for her.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty surprised. I thought I heard recently that she re-signed, so when I saw it come up that she was there was a mutual parting of ways, I was a little surprised, but I mean, they really haven't really used her a ton, so one, I didn't know why she would re-sign to begin with. It wasn't like they really used her. Last year, I feel like they barely used her. And then when she re-signed, I was like, hey, maybe the money's good. It's cooking. You might as well just get the check while you are. And then I saw it, I think when they said yesterday she's departing. But, I mean, for me specifically, I'm okay with her not going back to WWE. I mean, I feel like I've seen it. It's not like her in-ring's really been that good when she came back. I've seen reports that Mariah May might be coming up on a contract this summer, so I think I'd rather her go to WWE than Saraya. So I'd put my eggs in that basket over Saraya, but I think she's a decent talent. She wasn't really used that well, but it doesn't overly surprise me as well that she mutually parted ways.
Well, I mean, the fact that she re-signed doesn't overly surprise me, just because, like you said, it was probably a sweet deal that she re-signed for late last year. I guess I was just more so wondering why AEW would bother to re-sign her, because apparently, according to what she said, this was a mutual agreement for her to leave the company. So, I mean, she obviously would want to leave because they really haven't done a whole lot with her, and she made maybe one or two appearances after her. She had like a Grand Slam match, not in Australia recently, but when they do Grand Slam in New York City, she had like that blow-off match with Jamie Hayter, because I think they used to be aligned and then they weren't, or that she took her out, whatever it was. They had their big blow-off, and then the reports were that her contract was up, and then she came back for like an appearance or two after that, and then she disappeared again. So, I mean, I guess it was more so surprising to me that Tony Khan would re-sign her. I mean, he likes to re-sign a lot of people, so maybe not overly surprising. But, like, I guess there was no plan to really do anything with her, have her put over Harley Cameron on the way out. They were aligned towards the end there before Harley Cameron kind of broke off on her own and started doing her own thing and getting over. So that kind of surprised me. But even still, I mean, going back to what you said, we'll get to Mariah May a little bit later on because that's a great topic that I kind of forgot about from a couple days ago. We had posed the question when Saraya debuted in AEW 2.5 years ago, is this a game changer for the AEW women's division? You're shaking your head no. I mean, I already know the answer to this question, but revisiting that conversation that we had 2.5 years ago, we know she wasn't a game changer, but why do you think that is? Was it on her end or AEW's end or a bit of both?
I would probably say more AEW's end. I mean, I feel like all the people they brought in, her, Tony, I feel like at least they've gotten something out of. Mercedes. I mean, every time they debut these women, new game changer, women's division's gonna be great.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be over now. And I mean, I feel like they said Tony's actually done something. I wouldn't say she's a game changer. It's not like people are flocking to AEW because she's there. Same with Mercedes,
Sure.
But I don't know. I just feel like Paige. I mean, she was out of the ring for a while, or Saraya, my bad. But she was out of the ring for a while, and I don't know, it just never really clicked. They did like the whole thing with her, Ruby, and Tony before she went to Timeless. I mean, the whole thing was like the Outcast, and it was kind of terrible.
Yeah.
They did like her and Britt Baker, and then like kind of there was just downhill from there. So, I mean, I think she was, I don't know if it was just, I just feel like she never really got her footing, and I really don't remember any memorable matches she really had. So, I mean, I don't know if it was just being out of the ring for so long, and then the creative was just terrible, but I mean, overall, I wouldn't say it was a successful run.
I mean, I think it goes both ways personally, just because they kind of tried when she first came in. I guess she wasn't cleared when she initially debuted, which was kind of weird, but she got cleared before that first match with Britt Baker, which was a fine match. But beyond that, it was kind of all downhill from there. She turned heel literally within months because she wasn't really catching on in the way that I think they thought that she would. Her promos were really not that good at all. Didn't have a whole lot of memorable matches, like you said. I can't think of one like truly, oh man, that was a great Saraya match that she had. She had a couple decent ones with Toni Storm on TV. Jamie Hayter, I liked their last match at Grand Slam in New York a couple of months ago, but that's really about it. I don't know. Maybe it's because she was injured for so long. She got injured back in 2018, was out of the ring for almost 5 years, but she's been back in the ring now for a while. She had said originally when she came to AEW that, maybe it's like I'm on a part-time schedule. She's a part-timer, wrestle once a month. Maybe that's not really conducive to having like great matches because she's not really having repetition and whatnot. I'm not exactly sure. She's kind of in a weird spot right now, or was in a weird spot in AEW where they didn't really seem quite know what to do with her. And now she finds herself in free agency. As far as the WWE thing, we'll get to that in a second. I know you mentioned it earlier. I want to read through a couple of these. But Westway Farm had said, hello, guys. What's going on, dude? Thanks for joining us. Richie had said earlier, there's nothing left for Saraya to do in WWE or AEW, nor does the Fed need her. Perhaps she can work the indies if she really wants to wrestle still, but I wouldn't lose sleep if she doesn't return. Nathaniel said, I wonder what Saraya would do in WWE. Millennial Noob said, Ruby Soho hasn't done anything in AEW. I know she got pregnant, but you don't have to tell us that. I mean, we were talking about how she was a big deal from the get-go, and they've just done fucking jack shit with her. I mean, a lot of these women have had, like, title runs or, like, a notable feud. Ruby Soho had none of that. She's gotten what it feels like 1 million fucking title shots since her WWE run, and I just kind of gave up caring a long time ago. But at least Saraya had that moment, to her credit. At least she had that moment where she won the Women's World Championship in England at All In a couple of years ago. So, if nothing else, she did have that. Richie said, I believe Ruby recently had a kid as well. Yeah. But prior to that, I agree. All those video packages went to waste. And Johnny had also said, Tony wastes some money. We'll get back to the rest of the chats in a second. But yeah, as far as Saraya in WWE, I mentioned this before. I know you alluded to it too, Mr. Marceau. But, she's expressed interest in WWE, or rather in interviews that she's done this week about going back to WWE. If you read between the lines, it screams to me, okay, I would love to go back to where I once was. And I don't really think she wanted to leave a couple of years ago. The only reason why she left in 2022 when Triple H first took over, 1, her contract expired. 2, they probably had no use for it. And 3, and this is why 2 happened, because she couldn't get cleared. They didn't want to clear her. AEW cleared her within like 6 months of her leaving WWE. So now that they know that she can wrestle again, albeit maybe not at the level that she used to a decade ago, do you think there's a spot for Saraya in this modern day WWE? Because I personally don't think so, at least on an active, full-time basis.
No, I feel like I kind of alluded to that before. I don't specifically want to see her back. I feel like they have plenty of great women they're not utilizing now that have probably more potential than she currently has at 32 years of age, and she'll be 33 by the end of the year. I mean, they have plenty of women on Raw, SmackDown, coming up from NXT that I think you can put more into and get more out of it currently. I mean, like I said, maybe 3 years ago when she came back and women's division was kind of just a 4 horsewomen and we really didn't have anyone else at the time. They were pushing like Bliss, Carmella. I mean, maybe at that point, but I mean, now I feel like they have so many young women that have more potential at this moment that I would kind of pass her by right now.
And not even just young women either, but they have women on the roster that they either recently re-signed or brought back, called up, that they're not doing a whole lot with right now as well. I mean, you got to think, we're on the road to WrestleMania, which we'll kind of segue into in a moment. But like, we're getting Io, Bianca, and Rhea in a feud right now. A feud that stinks, but like, we're getting them in a feud right now. We'll get into that. The creative on that end has been terrible. But at least they're on the Mania card. At least, I mean, not officially, but it's probably going to be a triple threat. But there's so many women not even sniffing TV time right now. Nia Jax, who was on a roll for a while, hasn't been on TV since she lost at Elimination Chamber earlier this month. Who else was there? I mean, Chelsea Green's doing her thing right now. Nikki Bella, they just brought back. She re-signed a deal for probably a part-time deal, I would think. We still don't know what's going on there. Alexa Bliss reportedly re-signed for probably a pretty hefty deal. No idea what's going on there. She had some momentum. She was at Elimination Chamber. We haven't seen her since. No fucking clue what's going on there. It kind of feels like they have a lot of... Roxanne Perez. Roxanne Perez is another prime example. We talked about her last week on the show where she had her thing going with Bayley for a while. And they had that little mini feud and then they dropped it. It made no fucking sense. I mean, it would be nice to see Saraya in like a Royal Rumble, albeit that's like a year away. She did say that it's not like it's wrestling is her everything. She did say she wants to do other stuff and other projects and whatnot. I just don't really see a situation rather where she can come back and kind of be back in the fold on a regular basis. Maybe what about NXT? I mean, even NXT is a great women's division, but that's where she kind of got her start. Maybe she can kind of lend a helping hand to the women over in NXT. I feel like that wouldn't be a bad idea, right? Or no?
I mean, I guess maybe she can take over as GM from Ava. I know you'd probably prefer that, but
yes, and then occasionally
I feel
wrestle a
like
match.
you don't need to bring her back. I don't know. I guess it's just like I feel like people think you have to bring her back for the sake of bringing her back. Like like I said, I personally wouldn't bring her back.
Okay, well, I don't think she's a must hire. Let's put it that way. But they've also brought in some people from AEW that they probably didn't need to. So I wouldn't be surprised. But I mean, I would be happy to see her back. I just don't know really what you would do with her when there's so many other women they could be using instead. Richie had said Saraya, by the time that she got signed by AEW, was already washed. She wasn't relevant anymore, and her in-ring skills weren't up to par anymore like it once was. Man, Richie is just spitting fire here. I mean, he's not wrong, but he's not holding anything back. Daniel Malcolm said, not the biggest Paige fan, but she would probably get a big pop if she came back to WWE. I think she would. Yeah, that's a good question. Do you think she would get a big pop? I mean, she's been gone from WWE for so long. I mean, that era in which she was around was only a few years.
I mean, like I said, I doesn't really. I mean, I would assume she'd probably get a good pop, but
what do you do beyond the pop?
Exactly. It's a pop and then you move on.
Yeah. I think she would get a good pop, though. Richie said, revive Total Divas for Peacock with Paige. If WWE resigns her, screw it. Bring back Cameron and Eva Marie, too. Just have a whole Total Divas Season 2 reunion. Bring back their boyfriends, too, that they all broke up with. I don't think Cameron's been with Vinny for a long time, but Eva Marie and her husband, that Jonathan, isn't that his name?
Jonathan, yep.
That piece of work, I think they just broke up not too long ago. Johnny asked, how do you feel about Mina Shirakawa coming to AEW? She recently announced her free agency and impending departure from Stardom, and I think the WWE would obviously be an option, but I think she outright announced that she's going to AEW. So I know you're not a big follower of all things AEW these days, but you have seen Mina Shirakawa. Thoughts on her going to AEW full time?
Yeah, I mean, what I've seen of her, she's really good. Just pull up here. I thought she would. I mean, I did not know she was as old as she is. 37 years old. I thought she was younger, honestly. But no, what I've seen of her, she's been good. I mean, wouldn't say game changer, but I feel like she could fit in well. And I mean, depending on how they book her, I mean, I haven't seen Sheeta on TV in a while, so not sure if this is the Sheeta replacement or kind of what they've been doing. But I think she's good, and I mean, if she goes there, good for her.
Yeah, Mina Shirakawa was really good. I mean, there's a lot of stories you could tell there as well. She actually, the last time I saw her in a match, she lost her Rev Pro Women's Championship. Two of the titles or two of the belts that Mercedes walks around with came from Mina. She had beaten her for those titles earlier this year at the Wrestle Dynasty show or whatever it was. So I think that just makes the most sense. But Daniel was saying no one can replace Ava as the NXT GM. Watch your mouths. Yeah, listen, I mean, Ava's terrible. Mr. Marceau is a bit kinder than I am, but I think she's terrible in that role, personally. And Millennial Noob also said, I have a lot of complaints, he said, about the triple threat build because it's starting to annoy me when it comes to Rhea, Bianca, and especially Io Sky as far as the build. Oh, we're going to get into that. Mr. Marceau has something to say about that as well.
I guess my one takeaway, why especially Io? What has she done?
What has she done? I mean, it's not that it's probably what she hasn't done. Just getting pie-faced every week.
Okay, that's the booking. What the fuck you wanted to do?
Yeah, it's the booking. It's not her fault. He's not saying it's her fault. He's saying the booking sucks.
You guys are just all babies.
We're going to get into it. Nathaniel said, when was Paige's last WWE appearance? I rewatched an old COVID SmackDown from 5 years ago recently. I think she appeared on that show via Titantron. I don't think she showed up in person after that. And she left the company. Her contract expired in the summer of 2022. So it may have honestly been 5 years ago. That may have been the last time that she appeared for the company. Nathaniel asked, did you guys enjoy Total Divas? I did. We used to watch the show. I watched every episode of the show, and it got to a point where it was just fucking atrocious. But it was stupid scripted television, right?
I thought it was pretty decent. I mean, I was a big fan of Natty and her parents. I thought they were pretty hilarious. I mean, the first few seasons were good. It kind of fell off at the end when it turned into Total Bellas. Even the beginning of Total Bellas when Cena was just a prick was hilarious too. But I thought the beginning was good. Like I said, all the boyfriends were all kind of goobers.
Yeah.
Like I said, Natty's parents were hilarious. TJ, watching Daniel Bryan instead of Natalia in lingerie was a great scene that I'll never forget. So overall, 2 thumbs up, if you ask me.
Yeah, specifically for the Natty TJ content, but more so for the Cena Nikki content. The Cena Nikki content, I mean, it still gets replayed. You still send me clips even to this day. It's just, that was priceless television. Richie talking about Ava Raine and how she got cast in Avengers Doomsday as the credits. I did see that. They didn't put that in the big announcement yesterday for Avengers Doomsday, but I heard she is in the movie and she's going to be the credit for that. She's going to be the credit for that movie. Johnny said you can be great for your first few months in AEW, but then you disappear from TV. It depends. I mean, I feel like it's a case-by-case basis. I think Mariah May, they did justice by. We'll get to her in a second because you mentioned her contract coming up this year. Tony Storm, they've done right by. Camille, no idea what happened with Camille. That was, a whole situation. She was in that Queen of the Ring movie. They've barely acknowledged her since. I'm not even sure she's coming back. So, yeah, it is kind of a case-by-case basis. Nathaniel asking if we think EO loses. I think EO loses at WrestleMania, right? Do you?
I think when we talked about it last week, I think Bianca would win, EO retain, and then Rhea win would be my 3 in order.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
I guess they could, like, EO could retain, and I guess, like, you can save, like, Bianca and Rhea one-on-one, and I mean, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like she's the outlier, so she could, like, sneaky win, but
yeah,
I'd put my money on Bianca.
Yeah, I think Bianca's the odds-on pick as of right now. Yeah, Millennial Noob talking about how they don't know how to book their Joshi wrestlers because we haven't seen Sheena Riho and, of course, Yuka. Yuka Sakazaki was on the show a couple months ago. Is she even full-time with the company? I mean, I wouldn't really use her as an example, but Riho, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's an AEW thing, if Riho doesn't live here, and that's why that kind of limits her appearances.
She's terrible anyways. Who cares?
Riho. You've never been a big Riho fan.
She's terrible.
I mean, I'm not going to say she's terrible, but I think she was better than most with the crop that they had 6 years ago. Today, I don't really think there's a use for Riho in AEW. I think she's fine.
Bad.
Yeah, RJ's just sitting here just saying she's awful. Sheeta, I think, is great, though. You always like Sheeta.
Yeah, I like Sheeta. I mean, like I said, I haven't seen her on TV in a while. I mean, not sure where she's done. I've always liked Sheeta. I've never been a big Riho fan.
Yeah, no. That if you go back to the early WrestleRant Radio archives of AEW's existence, Mr. Marceau was never on the Riho train, which I can respect that. D Professor also joining us. What's going on, dude? He had said, I think Paige's run as SmackDown GM was decent. I think she did do well in that role. I enjoyed her as the SmackDown GM. That's when she couldn't wrestle, so that's what they did with her on TV. But then they got rid of the GMs, and then they had no role for her. And remember that period where she was actually managing the Kabuki Warriors for like a couple months there? That was fucking awful. That wasn't good. I don't think she would work well as a manager. I know she was managing an AEW, but she wasn't really great in that role. I think she's better as like a GM.
She was like the manager of Fire and Desire, which is also equally terrible.
Oh, yeah, Absolution. I forgot about. Well, that was when she was wrestling, but yes, I forgot about that.
Still sucked.
No, it still wasn't great. They were much better without her. Johnny mentioning in 6 months we're going to be talking about Mike Bailey and Megan Bayne and Ring of Honor and Collision. I hope not. I mean, they're being prominently featured right now. RJ sees the writing on the wall. That's why he's nodding his head.
Speedball Mike Bailey would easily be on Ring of Honor in 6 months. Megan Bayne, I'd be ashamed if they ruined her, but I wouldn't surprise me.
They're pushing her extremely well so far. I'm not exactly her biggest fan. I've made that clear here on these streams and whatnot, but I think what I've seen has been good, and they're pushing her very well. So hopefully she's not on Ring of Honor in 6 months. Mike Bailey, I could totally see being a Collision regular by the end of the year. I think he's great, but that's just usually the formula that they follow. Daniel had said, TJ no-selling Natty and Laundry lives rent-free in my head. That's still an amazing clip. While he's watching
it's the top 3 scene from that show.
It is. While he's watching a Daniel Bryan match, no less.
It's that, the parents' house flooding, and then Cena with the marble. Those are my 3 favorite all-timers.
I agree. Richie had said, yo, TJ's such a douchebag in Total Divas. I love it. Yeah, he is. He acts like such a douchebag on that show. He completely no-sells Natty all that. He would rather be, like, watching wrestling than paying attention to his wife. And listen, if you see how Natty acts on the show sometimes early on in those days, I can't say I exactly blame him. Dylan joining in the chat. Dylan, what's going on, dude? He had said, there is so many multi-wrestler matches for WrestleMania. It's laughably bad.
There's only one announced, Dylan, bud.
What'd you say?
There's only been one announced so far.
Well, I mean, in the direction that they're going, I think is what he means.
So there's 2, okay.
The Io, Rhea, and Bianca story is the most lazy booking ever. It's literally copy and paste. each week.
You guys are never happy, bro.
Richie said, I do miss Ariane, though, talking about Cameron. She was entertaining in Total Divas. We saw her in AEW for a quick minute there during COVID early on. The former
she came back. Yeah. She was learned a new hold. I'm a big fan of her.
Nathaniel talking about, imagine if John Cena wins at WrestleMania and then retires with the championship. He's not going to retire with the championship. I can guarantee you of that. But I don't even know if he wins at WrestleMania. I still think he will, but we're still not sure about that. Richie had asked about the Swerve Moxley promo from last night, or thoughts on it. You didn't see the promo last night, did you? Or on Twitter or anything?
I did not check it out.
Well, I will say this. I first of all thought it was a good segment. Second of all, Moxley had said to Swerve, can you prove, like, what are you willing to go through? Show me that you're willing to, like, prove yourself or whatever. This is the same man, by the way, that Swerve Strickland has put Adam Page through hell. He burned down his fucking house. He, like, drank his blood a year ago. Why would you say something like that? It just didn't even make sense. Talking about, oh, you don't know what it's like to be world champion. Swerve was champion for, like, 4 or 5 months last year. That didn't really make a whole lot of sense. But I thought the overall segment was good. And anything, honestly, is better than Cope and Moxley. That feud sucked. The matches weren't good, so at least we're back in the right direction. I don't think Swerve takes the title off of Moxley, by the way, at the next pay-per-view, but we can dream, I guess. Why, with an interesting question here on the subject of the women's division. Interesting question, asking, do you guys think the rose is off the bloom with Jade? Talking about Jade Cargill. Probably not Cora Jade. I think he's talking about Jade Cargill. You're nodding your head. Do you agree?
I don't know if you have me in the archives. I don't think I've ever been like, Jade's the greatest wrestler of all time. I mean, I feel like she's an entrance. She has a great physique, but her in-ring, at this rate, I don't think will ever be like good to great. I mean, she's fine, but I mean, what we've seen of her so far, it's mostly tag team stuff. Her in-ring, like I said, her just in-ring has never been great. She also hasn't really been, I don't know what they've been doing with her. I feel like she's kind of regressed and she wasn't great to begin with.
Do you think they've given up on Jade Cargill?
I don't think they've given up, but besides the match with Bianca, I don't really, right now, currently, there's nothing else I really want to see from her.
Well, I mean, I don't know if there was any, like, that's the biggest match you could possibly do. I mean, Jade's presentation, I don't really think is about the in-ring work, to be fair. But if they can build her
up. Like I said, I think she's an entrance with a good physique, but I don't think in-ring she's ever going to get past a certain level.
Okay, interesting. You don't think that she'll be like a staple of the women's championship scene? Like the singles title scene?
I hope not.
You hope not. Interesting. Is that because they have better women, or you're just not a fan?
I think they just have better in-ring women. Like I said, I feel like she's very limited at this point.
Yeah, at this point. I don't know if she's going to improve. I mean, she has been around for 5 years, so I mean, she was spending a lot of time in the Performance Center. I don't know if that's helped at all, but I think Jade will be fine. I don't think they've completely given up on her. I mean, I know she lost to Liv last week. That kind of surprised me. I mean, albeit with interference from Naomi. But still, I mean, they did they had her lose her first match in WWE, her first singles loss after going undefeated in AEW for like 2 or 3 years. She lost in WWE within less than a year, at least in a singles match. That kind of surprised me. But you mentioned Mariah May. I do want to go back to that real quickly. It was reported by Fightful this past week that she's in a contract year right now. And obviously, she's been perfectly booked since she showed up here in WWE, or rather AEW, not WWE. She was linked from Toni Storm with the start, and they had that whole storyline. She won the championship last year at All In, which she held for a while. She only lost it last month, and then she failed to regain it at Revolution. So, she was perfectly booked. I would be very shocked if she were to go anywhere. You said that you would rather see her in WWE, but I think all signs are pointing to her staying put in AEW. So what are your thoughts on Mariah May's situation? I know you said you want to see her in WWE, but isn't it safe to assume she's probably staying right where she's at?
I guess it depends on what she wants to do. I mean, she's 27. It's pretty much the prime of her career. I mean, does she want to go to WWE or does she want to stay in AEW? I mean, I think it really depends on how she sees her career. I mean, not that she's done everything in AEW. I mean, she had the championship for a little bit. She had the big feud with Tony. Probably not going to have a bigger feud than that. I mean, they pretty much put all their eggs in that basket, and she that's what she did. So, I mean, if she wants to be on a big stage, I think going to WWE would make sense. Because, like I said, I don't think pretty much probably won't get any better than it currently is right now. So, for her, at least, like I said, she had the long title reign, the big feud. I mean, if she really wanted to work at WWE, I don't know why you wouldn't take the chance now.
Yeah, I mean, well, that being said, I was thinking like there's a lot more for her to do in AEW. Like you said, she had her biggest feud. It's not going to get bigger than that. But I mean, nothing. I think for the women's division, it's going to be very hard to top that. That feud went on for a long time, so that is going to be difficult to top. That being said, though, I mean, she can always go after the TBS championship. There's a lot more women for her to work with, I think. So I say it's a slam dunk that she's staying put. I really don't think she's leaving. But at the same time, though, Jade Cargill, I mean, she was in AEW. She went undefeated for 3 years. She held that TBS championship. As soon as she lost it, she left. I mean, not left the company, but she took time off. Came back for a one-off to get it back, lost, and then she was gone from the company. So literally her entire run with the company, for the most part, was her being a champion. And then she left. Like, you would think, oh, she hasn't worked with Britt Baker yet or Thunder Rosa. I think she actually beat her for the TBS title. But there were a lot of women that she didn't even work with at that point. And then she just left, you know? So I think Mariah May, could you see her following that same formula, going to WWE?
I mean, yeah, I mean, like, that's kind of what I was kind of hinting at.
Yeah.
That, like, I mean, she's had a good run so far, but, like, if she wants to be in WWE, I mean, this is probably the best chance for her to go. I mean, she's coming off, like I said, the title reign, big feud. Her stock's pretty high right now. Who knows in 3 to 4 years what they do with her, what's going on. So, I mean, if you want to make it to WWE, I mean, WWE is the biggest company. I know people don't like to hear that, but, like, if you're a wrestler, you might be the dumbest thing you could ever say is, I don't want to go to WWE. I think that's just the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. But, I mean, I think the end of the goal is to go to the top league and top company, and that would be WWE. And like I said, coming off the year that she's had, it'd be pretty surprising if she doesn't take up on it. I mean, I know MGF did. People thought he'd go to WWE, and he stayed. But, I mean, I wouldn't say he's been lighting the world on fire either. So I think she should go. Maybe she'll stay, but I think it'd be a prime spot for her to go. I mean, like I said, she's in the prime age of her career.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, like you said, she's 27. Is that what you said earlier?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, she could always go when she's 30. She could sign another 3-year deal. I mean, she could be a bigger star currently in AEW and continue to build her stock, which it's at an all-time high right now, I agree. But I think she could stay there and continue to be a big star in AEW, depending on how she's booked. I mean, she could be back on fucking as a Collision regular when she comes back. We have no idea. I don't think that'd be the case, but we just don't know. As opposed to going to WWE now, probably getting overshadowed by a lot of the women that they have. I mean, you talk about Bianca, Rhea, Io, among a lot of the other women, Roxanne being called up, Bayley's still there, Charlotte's still there, Tiffany's a big star. Tiffany and her are very similar in a lot of ways. I'm not saying that wouldn't bode well for Mariah May and WWE, but they kind of already have like their next Charlotte in Tiffany right now. I don't really know if there's a need for Mariah May currently in WWE. I think she can stay right where she is, continue to build her stock, and then come in and maybe in 3 years or so, if she wants to come in at all.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think, I mean, we're kind of going in circles here, but yeah. I mean, I think she should go, but I mean, he said maybe 3 years and she comes over, but I mean, you mentioned Charlotte. I mean, she's at the tail end of her career. Bayley, I mean, who knows how much longer she'll be around. I mean, there are some old, like, Becky hasn't come back yet. So, like, yeah, we do have Bianca, Rhea, but, like, I mean, I think Mariah's done enough that, like, it's not like she really has to prove herself. I mean, she's got a track record, so I don't think it would take her too long to fit right in, but.
Let's talk about this women's match at WrestleMania. We've already kind of alluded to it a few different times here. Rhea, Becky, Io. We're going to talk about the entire road to WrestleMania, but specifically this match because the chat's been talking about it. We've alluded to it in recent weeks, but we really haven't gone all in with it. And we're also 3 or 4 weeks into this build, so it's kind of appropriate now to be able to talk about it. West Bay Farm did say earlier, this is not going to make you happy, but that's why
I already saw this and it pissed me off already. So.
Over the past year, Bianca has carried the tag division. Bianca had a dominant world title reign. But Io did nothing except a forgettable WrestleMania match with Bayley, yet she's being forced onto the fans. So do you think Io, first of all, is justified to be in this spot right now? Fernando joining us. Fernando, what's going on, dude? Thank you for joining us. But talking about Io's spot in this match, we're going to get to the build itself in a second, but I think Io being in this match doesn't make it weaker than just Bianca and Rio on its own. Bianca and Rhea, it does make it weaker. But honestly, I don't really think the build would be any different than what we're getting right now. I think, honestly, the creative effort would probably be the same. So I just want to get your response to that chat from a little bit earlier on.
Yeah, I mean, nothing. I guess she's done nothing. I don't know. Maybe best in-ring worker for women's wrestler currently in WWE. I guess that does nothing for you. I mean, I that's just blasphemous. I mean,
and she's over too. She is over.
And she's extremely over. I mean, like I said, doing nothing. I mean, like I said, I just feel like that's you just must not like Io at that point. If you're saying that, I mean, she's great. I mean, okay, so Bianca carried the tag division. The tag division's terrible, so I don't really know what that is. I mean, she carried the tag division. They lost the belts to Fire and Dawn, and then Dawn got canned. I mean, great. That's great. I mean, Rhea. I mean, I feel like Rhea had a good reign. I mean, her and Liv kind of dried on a little bit, but I mean, like you said, Io. I mean, hands down, one of the best women in ring. I mean, has the build been great? No, but I mean, I feel like people keep getting so caught up in the build. Like, the build's not great. The build's not great.
I mean, it's not. It's not.
The match is going to be good, so just get over it.
Yes, but like I've said before, though, I do think the build is important because it gets people excited for the show or going to sell people on watching the show.
You should be excited the build anyways. It's going to be a good match. You know it's going to be a good match.
No, the match will be good for sure. But I think, but let's put it this way: there should be more story with this three women. I think having them come out. This segment this week was a complete waste of fucking time. I'm sorry. That was just, they could have just announced that via fucking video package. Announce what they did for next week, Rhea and Io again, which the match will be good. Bianca is dude, we know it's going to a triple threat. So at this point, just announce it.
Yeah, but that was just, the booking to begin with was just stupid to begin with. Like, they had Rhea face Io. Io wasn't even in the Elimination Chamber. Like, her and... Like, she got screwed by Liv and Raquel. They never went back to that. Like, that's how Liv got in, and Io wasn't even involved in the Elimination Chamber.
Right, yes.
Like, oh, Rhea's going to defend against Io out of the blue. There's no thing that really, like, signified why that would happen.
Well,
Io beats her. They kind of, like, Rhea gets mad because Bianca's there. Don't really know what that has to do with anything. Then she loses and then blames Bianca. Then Bianca is, like, the whole booking is just stupid. They should have just done... they were going to go this way to begin with, they should have just had, like, Io and Bianca just, like, either have a draw or something happen in the chamber because, I mean, besides that, it just makes no sense because Rhea has no bitch besides her beating them up multiple times that she should be in. And then now they're like, well, she gets a rematch now out of the
that makes no sense.
And now Bianca's the special guest referee, and you know it's going to be a triple threat. Like, I think that's the worst part of the booking is we know where it's going, so just get there already. Instead of doing, like, we're going to overlook Io and we're just going to keep attacking each other, and then Io's going to, like, it's just bad booking overall. But I think it's the booking from the beginning has been bad.
What do you mean by from the beginning? The beginning of when they started building the triple threat?
Just like, so Bianca's going to go after Rhea, but no, Rhea's defending against Io. Io beats Rhea, and now Rhea's mad because... for some reason, she thinks that Bianca cost her, even though she didn't. Then she beats them up. Now she's included. It's just stupid.
That makes no sense. I mean, also, it doesn't really help that with Rhea specifically, I think the booking of Rhea has been especially bad. I mean, Io, I think Noob said earlier, she's kind of been like an afterthought. That is true. But at least she is fighting back. They are pie-facing her, which I think is dumb. If you did that during the first week, then I get it. But they just keep doing it. They did it last week. They did it this week. It's not doing her any favors at all because it makes her look like a loser, and it really should be about Bianca and Rhea one-on-one if you're going to do that shit. But second of all, with Rhea's booking and her characterization specifically, I mean, I mentioned this before, I think a week or two ago. She cut that great promo. I think it was on YouTube or Twitter, whatever it was, that they put on their socials about her losing the chance. She was like in fucking tears about it. And like, oh, I have nothing. And like, Liv took my friends away from me and Damien's not here anymore. Like, it was amazing. Why aren't we seeing that on the show? She's on the show fucking complaining and whining and laughing, and she goes, I deserve a rematch. Why would Rhea get a rematch? She lost clean, dude. She lost clean because she was distracted by Bianca at ringside. So why the fuck? And also, I mean, I'm glad, I mean, to be fair, I gotta praise this. At least they didn't put her in the triple threat because she signed her name to a goddamn contract last week. That was also dumb. The fact that she even thought that would work was dumb. Maybe it's because it's worked before on the product and that she watched the past product and it worked then, I don't know. Maybe that was fucking dumb too. But I will say, yes, the match will be great. I'm just disappointed with the talent involved in such a match. You can't create more of an issue with Bianca and Rhea saying we're two of the biggest stars in the last 5 years and this should feel like a massive collision course. Io being one of the best workers in the company. I don't know. I just feel like it should feel bigger than it currently does.
Yeah, like you said, I just feel like the booking's kind of been all over the place. Like I said, especially with this now, we're going to do their rematch on Raw with Bianca being involved, and we know it's going to turn into a triple threat. I mean, it is what it. Like I said, I guess at the end, like I said, the booking's not great. I'm not gonna like stay up at night crying about how bad the build is, but I mean, it could definitely be better. But I know the match will be great, so I kind of overlooked the bad booking at this point.
To me, it's hard, though, because it's not just this match. It's a lot of the matches on this card. Maria joining us in the chat. Maria, hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining us. We have a lot. I have a lot to get into here, because like Dylan had alluded to earlier in the chat, we've had a lot of chats, so I'll get to them. I'll try to get to them later on, but I want to get to this. There's nothing. We talked about it last week. Not every match on the card is multi-man matches. We have Orton and Owens. I like that match. That's been well built so far. What's the story?
That one's good. That one's a good one. Everyone fine with that one? Okay.
I don't want to sound like I'm shitting on the entire card here. I want to get honest about what we're seeing so far, okay? Orton and Owens, good story. The story is that Orton wants to punt Owens in the head. Probably going to happen at WrestleMania. I like that. I don't want to sit here and say every match in the card doesn't make sense. That match makes sense. It's a good match to do. People are, crying about the fact, and I kind of get it, but let's just get out of the way here. Sami Zayn not being on the card. Sheamus not being on the card. Brother, if they were on the card, then we would end up with more multi-man matches. Not everyone can get on the card. Is it weird that Sami's not on the card after having an amazing match with Gunther last year and fucking main eventing the year before that? Yes, it is a little strange. But there's no match that makes sense. You're going to put him in a triple threat with Orton and Owens? That would just be stupid. That would just be dumb. Have him face Karrion Kross, which we laughed about a couple weeks ago. I mean, it would be kind of logical because they've had interactions. That's not a WrestleMania match. My bigger issue is that they're not creating... I would honestly have Finn Balor off the show than do a four-way for the IC title. Will the match be great? Yes, the match will be great. But why can't they just build a Breaker and Penta one-on-one? Finn Balor has done nothing to deserve a goddamn fucking title shot at WrestleMania, dude. He has done nothing. This man has won one singles match since June of last year. And before that, you'd have to go back to fucking September of 2023. That was when CM Punk still worked for the other company. I mean, dude, what are we fucking doing here? That is ridiculous.
Dominic put a good word in for him. He gets a title match.
Is this the story that we're going with, though? Like, that makes no sense to me. And that makes no sense. I'll praise the good, but I'll tell you when it's garbage. And that shit is fucking trash. I mean, it's not as bad as other shit that I'm going to get to, but it's like, why can't... Like, the U.S. title picture is even worse. What are your thoughts on that, I guess?
I mean, you just fucking had a brain aneurysm. I mean, I'm fine with just Penta and Breaker. I don't think you need to add. If anything, I would just do Dom and Finn on their own. But, like, is that a WrestleMania match? Probably not. But I feel
that's
like
a backlash match.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like they like putting Dom. I mean, I feel like Dom's always been spotlighted the last few years of WrestleMania. They kind of want to get him in there. But, I mean, I would just do Breaker, Penta one-on-one. I don't think you need Finn and Dom. But, I mean, it seems like they're going to get them in there. I prefer not, but, I mean, it is what it is.
It is what it is, but I don't know, man. It feels like an excuse to get them on the show. People saying, oh, Dom's got to be on the show. No, he doesn't. He doesn't. No one has to be on the show. Unless you're like a top guy or a top woman, whatever. They don't have to be on the show. Finn and Dom can have a fucking match at Backlash. It really isn't that big of a deal. Another match, let's talk about before I get to this next one that I was thinking of. The U.S. Championship. What are we doing there? LA Knight just got the belt back from Nakamura. He never should have fucking lost it in the first place. What an absolute waste of time that entire thing was. And we had said from the get-go that Nakamura winning the belt was a joke. I love the whole repackaging. I thought he looked great and whatnot. There was below zero reason to give that man another championship run in 2024 or 2025. Yet he was fucking U.S. champion for 4 months, loses it tonight. What are we doing? We're getting Knight and Strowman on SmackDown. Bro, WrestleMania is in 3 weeks. What are we doing here? Is it Jacob Solo, Strowman, and Knight in a 4-way? Another 4-way? Why can't we just build stories here? At that point, don't even put Knight on the card. What is that? Just do Jacob and Solo one-on-one. Are we saving that for Backlash? Why is there no further attention there? Like, it just feels like we're in a holding pattern until after WrestleMania with a lot of these stories.
You're not wrong. I mean, I kind of thought I thought it was going to be Jacob or Solo one-on-one. I mean, it seemed like you said they're kind of still with this whole LA Knight thing. But it's like you said, like, do we need another 4-way? No. I mean, maybe they do it. Maybe it's not on WrestleMania. Maybe it's on SmackDown before Mania. And then, like you said, it kind of turns into Jacob versus Solo at Backlash. But I mean, something. It's not like, I don't know. Like you kind of mentioned before. It's like it's not everyone has to be in the car, and I 1,000% agree. And I won't think any of these guys are expended. Like, I'm not going to cry if any of these people aren't on the card. I don't think it's. I mean, I think it would be a shame for what Jacob's been doing to not have him on Mania. I think that would be like a shame, but I mean, it's not the end of the world. But also goes back to the booking. Like I said, like him and Soul have been teasing tension, and they're on the same side now. They're not, and then it's kind of all over the place. So I mean, to me, I would be fine with them doing it at SmackDown, but if it's on Mania, I guess it's a good take a piss and snack break.
1-on-1 or the 4-way or both?
I mean, I think at this point we'd probably get the 4-way. I just do it at SmackDown.
Maria had said earlier, this is actually a compliment. I don't think this is the dunk that they think it is, but they said Io Sky is as awesome as Veer was back in the day. LOL. Veer was amazing, so I don't know what she's talking about.
The Io hate is unreal. Crazy, bro.
You got to go back and listen to Mr. Marceau's Io Sky rant from a couple of weeks ago. At least she's at WrestleMania, to be fair. I mean, we could say that, right? At least she's probably going to be a Mania defending the championship, unless she loses to Rhea next week.
I mean,
I wouldn't put it past him at this point.
You might need a new co-host if that happens next week.
Nathaniel also asked, what if The Rock is the special guest ref for Cody and Cena? Absolutely not.
Please, no.
No, we're getting to that. I'm getting to the Rock, Cena, Cody stuff in a second. I have something to say about that. Fernando said the Mania build's been clunky. I agree. I'm not saying it's all awful. People sitting here, oh, it's the worst WrestleMania build of all time. But were you watching WrestleMania during the 2010s? I mean, seriously, like, were you watching the product at that point?
But I feel like it also goes both ways. Like, their build for Triple H and Orton at 25 was amazing. The match was fucking garbage.
Yeah.
The Backlash match, the 6-way with fucking Shane and fucking
Batista, yeah.
Ted DiBiase and all them, like, and Cody was better than the Mania match. The Mania match was terrible.
Yeah.
It goes both ways. Like, I'm not saying the build's been amazing, but like, I think most of these matches, the ones that we're talking about, will overweigh the bad booking. Like, everyone was bitching about Reigns, Punk, and Rollins. It's probably one of the best builds we got going right now. Before, like, oh, triple threat. Well, make no sense. Like, if anything, at least this match, like, any of these guys could win.
Correct.
I feel like it makes sense, and like they've had a good build, but people are like, oh, another triple threat. Like, okay, get over it.
Well, I'll get over it, but it really shouldn't be a triple threat. It feels like an excuse to get all three guys on the show, and it really should be Roman and Rollins one-on-one. That brawl, I'm sorry, that segment on SmackDown last week, that segment on SmackDown sucked. They said nothing. They were out to do. They literally set up 20 minutes for these guys, and they spent 15 of it making their entrance. So Barcelona, Spain, or fucking Bologna, Italy could sing along with their song. I'm done with this shit.
The problem is they've been like screwing these international crowds over because they know they're going to get a hot crowd. They know people are coming. The last 2 Raws have basically been copy and paste. All the main segments have been legitimately the exact same.
But the crowd gets to sing along with Seth Rollins' song, so it's okay, right? They get to sing along with the personality. It's the same with the Cena
stuff, the Cena and Cody stuff. Like they boo Cena, they cheer Cody, and then we move on. And then the Bianca, Rhea, and Io was like pretty much the exact same segment.
It was.
Than it was the week before, and they did the same thing.
Yeah. But we'll get to Cody.
Like you said, they know the crowd's there. They know they're going to get reactions regardless. They're just like phoning in bad shows.
Yeah. They're just, well, I mean, that's the thing. Like you had said when we talked about Raw afterward this week, you said it was fine because I was going off on Twitter.
I said it was fine. I watched it at work. I didn't stay up late. If I stayed up till 11 o'clock, I'd been like, well, that kind of sucked.
Yeah.
But I'm at work. I'm just hanging out. I'm like, oh, whatever. It's something to watch.
I guess that's my problem, though, and I said this to you over text. My issue is these shows are fine. They're not bad. I'm not going to say Raw and SmackDown are just unwatchable. Like, again, I've sat through a lot of bad and Raw SmackDowns over the years. This is far from as bad as it could be. I just know they could do better. I just know that the shows have been better. Raw's been better over Raw and Netflix. I think has been fucking great, dude. And the SmackDown 3-hour SmackDowns are just, we don't really talk about that. But there's been a couple shows recently that have been decent. But the segments where they just come out there and sing for 15 minutes, and then, dude, CM Punk, love CM Punk, came out on Monday just to say he was going to be on SmackDown this Friday. What a waste of fucking time. Like, what was that? I'm like, what did he did have a couple good lines in there. He was mentioning, oh, yeah, I work with children, and which got no pop. No one cared about that at all, which was funny. I guess that just completely flew over their heads. And he had a couple good lines about, like, oh, I brought you into this business. I'll take you out. Great line. But the overall segment could have been trimmed down to 2 minutes. But they got to fill time. So I don't know. The international crowds have really just been a backfire because they're hot crowds, but they're not getting meaningful content. Like Cody and the Cena promo last week, I enjoyed. We talked about it last week. This week, he had a couple good lines about like, oh yeah, the championship, I'm bringing it home, and I'll retire as the last real world champion. Thought that was great. But him and Cody didn't have a back and forth. And apparently Cody, or rather Cena's only advertised for one more show next week. And that's it. And they're advertising it again as Cody and Cena face to face. Well, if they're not fucking talking to each other, then what's the point? Cody goes off on him and then Cena walks away like a bitch with nothing really to rebut with. I don't know. We'll get to that in a second. I have thoughts on that build, and I want to get your thoughts on it too. But Abu Sika was joining us earlier. Abu Sika, what's going on, dude? Sending a couple chats here saying the whining was out of character for Rhea, not really the badass eradicator that she has been for a while now. No, I agree. She comes across like a baby. Like, oh, I should be in the match. I lost my title. Like, you got beat clean. You got beat clean. It was her own distraction that cost her the belt. It makes no sense. And he also asked, did Sami Zayn request time off? I thought I heard Solid Monster say that. No, he did not. Sami did not. I don't think he requested time off. I don't think he's hurt. They just have nothing for him. And honestly, not everyone has to be at Mania. Because if he's at Mania doing what? Fighting for the IC title that he already held? Who cares? I mean, he's probably not getting a Mania paycheck. If that's what people care about, then I get that. But as far as like as a fan, if there's no match that makes sense, then don't put him at WrestleMania. Yeah, Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal.
Why does anyone give a shit about that? Who cares?
What, the fact that Sami's on the show?
No, like, well, everyone's got to get on Mania to get a paycheck.
Well, if they're saying, I'm not saying they are. I'm saying, I can understand that because you're like, okay, you want them to get their Mania paycheck. It's the biggest paycheck of the year. I get that, but that's not really my business personally, so I don't really give a shit as a viewer watching the show. I mean, just put them in a fucking Battle Royal then. Sorry. That's what.
I mean, it doesn't affect me at all, so.
No, I mean, just put them in a Battle Royal. The Professor also said, compare this year's build-up for Mania and last year's build-up for Mania. They are lacking so much this year. But again, there were parts of the Mania build last year that weren't good either, though. They had to pivot sometimes, and that was good. The pivots made for great television. But, dude, last year they were building to Punk and Drew, and that didn't happen until the summer. They were building last year to Cody and Roman, or Cody and Rock, and that was the match that we haven't even gotten yet. It was a tag match at Mania. It was Roman and Cody, and people were complaining last year. I mean, it's the same thing every year. People constantly complain.
I'm going to say, also last year, like, what was so great about the build besides the Bloodline Cody shit, and maybe I'll give you Gunther and Sami. I mean, what else was amazing?
But even that was basic, though. That came to
exactly.
That came together at the last
card,
second.
like, yeah, Drew and Seth, like, okay, but Drew was kind of like an underthought. AJ and LA Knight didn't even remember they wrestled each other. The Logan Paul, Owens, Orange stuff, I guess. I feel like Io and Bayley, it was like the whole damage control thing.
That was good, yeah.
I mean, we had Jade, Bianca, and Naomi versus damage control. Who cares? Ray and Andrade versus Santos, who's never on TV. Did they like piss someone off? He's not even on TV anymore.
No.
And Dirty Dom Mysterio, throwaway match. The Pride versus the Final Testament, throwaway match. I mean,
it was the same thing.
That wasn't that great either. So I mean, it goes for go, and like, it is what it is. I mean, I just.
Well, Fernando makes a good point. Not everyone makes the Super Bowl and World Series, so why does everyone need to make
totally
Mania?
Different thing?
Well, I mean, it is a different thing, but it's like, I mean, not everyone has to be at WrestleMania at this point. I agree with that.
No, WrestleMania is like the playoffs. So some people make the playoffs and people don't.
Yeah. I don't know. Grant, who was it? Ahmed had said earlier, I lost it. Oh, honestly, I would just do Braun versus Penta and Knight versus Jacob, but Knight and Jacob has no heat. There's no heat there. It's Jacob and Solo, because then Solo, would get involved. That's a SmackDown match. Braun and Penta, we just saw on Monday, so at this point, they have to do a four-way. I agree with Abu Sika, though. Abu Sika makes a great point. Love Ziggler has to be on the show. I don't know if there's anyone that has to be on the show, it's fucking Love Ziggler. Tyreek should also be there. Tyreek constantly comes and goes, so I don't know what's going on there, but Abu Sika should definitely be there. But yeah, what was the other match I wanted to bring up? Damian and Drew. You had an issue with this one. We texted the other day. I mean, I didn't
have an issue.
You didn't have an issue with this match?
I don't think I did I?
I
think I said I didn't care. Does that? I mean,
that's the issue. You don't care. You don't care about this match.
It's giving me like Corbin and Drew vibes. Like I think it was 2 or 3 years ago.
It gave me
perfect match. You watch him come out. All right, time to get up, take a piss, go get something to eat, come back. Drew won. All right, time to move on. Or Damian won. Nice. I mean, it's not really a Mania match. I mean, Drew. it's kind of more like give these guys a spot because they both had a pretty good last season,
Yeah.
like last year. Like they both were on top at points and we're kind of building them up. But I mean,
The match will be good.
It should be a good match.
They're trying.
Nothing. The story's not really there. There's nothing like on the stake. Like I said, it's a great piss and snack break.
I think it's solid. I mean, it doesn't really. I mean, not every match has to be like, oh my god, I can't wait for this. But I just feel like they could have done better with Drew after the year that he had. And same thing with Damian, honestly,
Same with
as well.
Damian, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a match that makes sense. They're trying to explain every time they clashed last year. Damian got the better of Drew. I like the story. It's not completely random. It's not like when Jericho pissed in Kane's coffee back in 2000 and that set up a pay-per-view match between the two. It's not that random. Or the fucking shampoo commercial that set up, I think, Booker T and Edge or Booker T and Angle, whatever it was, Edge and Angle at Mania in 02. Or I think it was Angle and Kane or whatever it was.
Angle and Kane.
Yeah. I mean, the Mania builds have been lacking for a very long time when it comes to the mid-card matches. That match is fine. I care about it, but not as much as other matches. It exists. It's a match that, exists. It gets them on the show. Tiffany and Charlotte, I expected more, though. I'm sorry. Like, I think they've done a better job in recent weeks of getting them to the point where it feels like a big deal. But to say that should main event Mania at this point, I don't really think anyone's saying that at this point. But, like, Charlotte won the Rumble, so theoretically it could, in storyline, main event Mania. It doesn't feel like a main event at all. What's your analysis of, like, Tiffany's role in this whole thing? Because she's not really an organic babyface. And Charlotte kind of got the better of her in that, people were talking about it in the chat earlier, but Charlotte kind of got the better of Tiffany in that back and forth they had on SmackDown last week, kind of outclassing her on the mic a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think we discussed this probably a couple weeks ago. For this match specifically, I feel like I think they have heated it up a little bit. I just don't, to me specifically, I just haven't really invested a lot in it because I feel like at the end of the day, I know Charlotte's going to win.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's just me just being nearsighted, and maybe Tiffany does win, but I don't think that's a good chance. So to me, I mean, like I said, I haven't really invested a lot in this match. Like I said, the back and forth, I mean, Charlotte cooked her a little bit, but I mean, Tiffany's also not a natural babyface. I mean, pretty much all her bigger work in the company, NXT, has all been as a heel. So I mean, still kind of getting her footing there, but I mean, I just, like I said, I haven't really invested because I feel like Tiffany is not going to win, so why even bother investing in it?
I mean, that's fair. I think, well, I mean, goes back to what you said earlier. The match will be great, right? So
it'll be a good match, but like I said, I'm not like...
You're not getting your hopes up for a Tiffany win if you know that she's probably going to lose.
Correct.
But I think she'll be fine if she loses. Honestly,
I don't think it'll kill her. I don't think it'll kill her if she loses, but I mean...
I'm not saying I want Charlotte to win.
Who cares?
I think she could benefit from it, though, being back in chase mode. I mean, she really didn't have much of a chase. She was Money in the Bank as a heel for however long, so...
No, I mean, like I said, I think she's young enough and good enough that, like, it's not going to kill her. I mean, I think they clearly see something in her, so I don't think it's going to kill her at all. I don't know. I'm kind of, like I said, Charlotte to me, I'm like, let's just move on.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of been there, done that, and she hasn't really evolved her character, Charlotte, that is, in the last 10 years, so it is kind of hard to care. I can agree with that. Tag team stuff, I mean, the tag teams on SmackDown are going back and forth. I like what we're getting on SmackDown. Raw, I mean, we haven't seen the War Raiders on the show in like a month. Are those belts being defended at Mania? New Day said they wanted the belts, but the New Day stuff has been, the follow-up there has just been extremely disappointing. I mean, they're on the show sometimes, but they're not really at the level that I thought they would be at coming off that amazing angle with Big E 3 or 4 months ago. I mean, what are we doing there? Are we getting a multi-team match at Mania with the New Day and the War Raiders and LWO and El Grande Americano or something like that, you think?
I mean...
That's a pre-show match, or that's a SmackDown before Mania match to me. I'm sorry.
Sounds great on the pre-show.
Yeah, I mean, they don't do the pre-shows anymore.
They can do it again.
Gets in their Mania paycheck, though.
I mean, the New Day stuff for me at this point, that's a pause or fast forward if I'm behind. There's nothing for me.
Were you ever invested, or are you saying that because the follow-up has been non-existent?
I've been kind of over the New Day for a while. Even when they were faces, the heel turn has done nothing for me, and I just don't give a shit at this point.
Well, the triple threat match, the build there has been questionable. We kind of talked about that. I think the match will be great, and it's three big stars. I would like to see them really delve into their history. I would like to see more of that. If we're going the three-way route, which we are because they already announced the match, I don't love that, but it is what it is. I mean, what's your thoughts been on that build so far from what we've gotten on Raw and SmackDown?
I mean, I like it. I mean, I think it's more one-on-one. I mean, the story is mostly Roman and Rollins. I mean, they're the ones. I mean, Rollins attacked him at Royal Rumble. He beat the shit out of him. I guess he did attack Punk at the steel cage, but like, I feel like it's like Punk doesn't have a dance partner, so he's kind of getting pushed into this match.
Yeah.
I mean, Rollins and Roman. I mean, they had like their little interaction last year at WrestleMania, so we're still continuing it. But I mean, overall, I think it's been decent. I think it's the most probably unpredictable match, which is a positive. I think all three guys have a chance to win, and I think you can make it make sense and turn into something for every guy, regardless if you lose. But I think it's probably the most unpredictable and probably is the three of the biggest stars in the company. So
Yeah. I think they're making the most of it. I would just like to see them go deeper with the story. Just having Punk out there to say that he'll be on SmackDown this week, or Rollins, I'll be on Raw this, like, dude, who cares? Like, that's just stupid to me. Like, do you think part of it, before I go further with the last two matches that are on my mind, do you think part of the problem is that Mania is later this year? Because I talked about that. I think it's a factor, but I don't think that's the reason. Oh, yeah, Mania is later, and that's why they're dragging their feet. No, the stories can still be fucking interesting. I mean, let's not give them the out here. Although, let's not give them an excuse, but I think it is a factor. We can't acknowledge that.
no, I think it's appropriate to say it's a factor. I mean, looking at it, I mean, usually Royal Rumble used to be end of January, WrestleMania be middle to early March, early April. So you're in 2 to 2.5 months, kind of similar 2.5 months now, but I don't know. I don't know if I feel like they're kind of unfortunately using the international shows just to phone it in. Like they know they're getting a crowd. They know that people are just going to, they have it already. I don't know if that's the problem. Like they're not putting as much investment in it, which is, I mean, it sounds terrible, but like, I feel like that's kind of the problem is they're kind of phoning it in because they know these shows are going to do whatever. And maybe once they come back to the States, they'll heat it up. But I think at that point, it's going to be a little too late. I mean, we're almost a month out. Like we're a little bit less than a month out. I mean, pretty sure the next Raw at least is in the UK. And then I think they come back to the States the first week of April. But
yeah,
I think, like I said, I don't want to give them the excuse of the Rumble because Rumble is January or February 1st. WrestleMania is the 20th or 19th. It's 2.5 months, basically. Same as pretty much what they've been on. So I don't want to give them that excuse. Like I said, I think the whole international thing, they're like glorified house shows. So they're just phoning it in.
I mean, John even said in the chat, if it ain't broke, then copy and paste. That's what it feels like when you call the copy and paste earlier, and Dylan had said that, I've said that. I mean, again, these shows are not bad. I'm not going to sit here and say they're terrible. I'm saying that it's very basic booking. It's fucking booking I would do in GM mode in the 2K games. Like, it's very basic booking, but we need deeper. Like, it doesn't, I'm not going to say it doesn't feel like the road to WrestleMania to me, but it should feel bigger. Like, these matches shouldn't just feel like they're just going in circles or formulaic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I also feel like it just at this point, WrestleMania is WrestleMania. I think they know that it's going to be a big deal regardless of the build. I mean, it's kind of like, it is what it is. I mean, I think that's another thing now with TKO. I think they know regardless of build or whatever, like they're going to have big stars on the show. It's in a big city. They over-promote that. They highly promote this stuff. They know people are going to watch regardless, even your casual people that used to be fans. I mean, most of those people still tune in for WrestleMania if they're not like week by week product. I think they're kind of resting their laurels there that they know people are going to watch.
Yeah, no, I think they are resting on their laurels to a certain extent. I don't want Triple H to get to the point, or whoever's, I mean, it's definitely Triple H. He's the head honcho creatively now. They can't just rest on their laurels. Oh, business is hot. Brother, I mean, if you look at these ticket prices for WrestleMania, they better give people their money's worth. I mean, these tickets are not cheap. They have to be the most expensive they've ever been. I mean, it's not even close. I mean, it's fucking egregious. And not even to WrestleMania. You look at any of this shit that they're doing. The Hall of Fame is like a couple $100 to get into. You want me to sit there for 3 hours so I can hear Michelle McCool talk about her career? I mean, listen, I like the Hall of Fame and whatnot, but that's just an absolute waste of time. I was there last year until fucking 2 o'clock in the morning watching that shit after SmackDown. And I said to myself, I'm never doing this again. Unless it's like someone super worth getting inducted. Who's the head honcho this year, or headliner? It's Triple H.
Triple H.
Good. I see him come out every week on Raw and SmackDown, so I don't need to hear him talk about his career for an hour. I'm sorry. The Heyman speech was worth it, but I don't know. I think that's also part of the problem too. they're really becoming more corporate in making and raising their prices because the product is hot. It is undoubtedly hot, and I enjoy the product most weeks. But you gotta really deliver, though, if it's like, okay, it was worth it for me to go to the show because it was so great. Chamber was a great show, dude. Chamber was fucking awesome. And the Rumble was also good. I think Mania will also end up being a very good show, but they have to, specifically for the ticket prices, they got to justify it.
No, yeah, like I said, I think the problem is with the whole TKO thing. It's like the same thing with the UFC. I mean, their prices have always been pretty large, I would say. I mean, anytime they come to Boston, I always try to take a look, and it's like you're paying. I think the last time they actually had like an actual pay-per-view, it was like you want the balcony, it was like $300-$400 a ticket. It's like, dude, I'm not paying that. I mean, at that point, I'd rather stay at home and watch it on my big screen and don't have to then worry about, because they're always wicked late too. They start at 10 o'clock, they don't get over to 1 a.m. Like, dude,
that's not counting parking and stuff like that and whatever.
But yeah, like you said, I think it's just they know that if the product's hot. I mean, the problem is the problem at the end of the day, I mean, this is any business.
Yeah.
You put it for $100 and people are buying it for $100, they're going to pay $200.
Yeah.
Dude, the other day, they put those belts on sale, those WWE WrestleMania belts.
Yep.
They put 750 of them on sale. They were $800. They sold out in fucking 5 minutes. That's almost, it's over $500,000 they sold in 5 minutes for belts that cost $800.
That's
someone
crazy.
Like you would be like, that is crazy money. I would realistically never spend that on a belt, but people are buying it as the problem.
Yeah, people are doing it.
The tickets are going up and up and up, and people are still buying it.
Yeah.
So they're going to keep doing it. Obviously, eventually, it'll have to come down, but like it's just with any business, especially sports or ticketing, it's like the more if people are going to continue to come, you're going to keep putting the price up. People might complain, they're like, oh, yeah, but the price are going up. But guess what? If they're continuously coming, they're going to keep doing it.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, that's not really something that we can control. I'm not going to go to WrestleMania and boycott it and stand outside and say, hey, everyone, you're wasting your money on this show. Do not pay $500 for your ticket. I mean, people are still going to do it. Especially wrestling fans, they're going to spend that money on the most egregious shit. I mean, that's the
Let me
nature
take you to the cleaners at the WWE World. At the Superstore. Dude, the place is like a print press, for Christ's sakes.
To copy and paste my rant from last week about the Steve Austin prices at WWE World. I mean, people are doing it, and people do it, so now they're going to make it even more expensiend. I'm never going to fucking meet Stone Cold.
Like you said, it's just like one of those things. Like I think people like us are like, it's astronomical, and to us, at the end of the day, I mean, something I've learned through work. It's like it depends on how much you value something.
Yep.
To me and you, I don't value spending $800 to go to WrestleMania or buying a ticket or something, but like. I also don't value spending like $300 or $400 on a dinner. Yeah. I know plenty of people that go on big dinners, like, oh, we went on this big dinner, it was great, $500. Like, I could never see myself spending that amount of money on a dinner, but there's plenty of people that do. So it's the same amount of people spending that money on the things that me and you or most people will be like, I wouldn't spend my money on that, but guess what? They do. So it's one of those things that it depends on how much you value it.
Yeah. Like
some people say, you know what? I work my ass off. I make all this money. I want to spend my money on going to wrestling shows and spending money on tickets and the Superstore and all that stuff, which is fine. But like, it just people just have valued money different ways.
Yeah, it's like how you value the John Cena $25,000 dinner that you already reserved your spot to, right?
Yeah, I'm going.
He's shaking your hand and then he's heading out. Listen, you tune in every Thursday for Wrestling Talk. You also get some economic talk, too. Economics 101 with Mr. Marceau and how you value the dollar, people. That's really what it comes down to in WrestleRant Radio as we wind down in just a little bit. But Alexis was also joining. She came in late. She said, when did we go live? We went live a little after 12. But she also said, happy late anniversary, Mr. Marceau. Is it today or is it yesterday?
It was yesterday.
Happy late anniversary, Mr. Marceau.
Can't believe we forgot. What a prick.
I knew it was. I mean, the worst part is I was at the fucking wedding too.
Tisk.
Tisk.
Finger wag.
Share our sentiments to the missus as well. Fernando had said Fatu should be the one to go babyface. I agree. Nathaniel said he hopes that CM Punk reveals the favor on Friday. If the favor is just like, I mean, the match has already been made, so I hope that wasn't the favor. But I don't know. Do you think we find out the favor before Mania, at Mania? Do you think it involves this match at all? Punk brought it up on SmackDown last week. I don't know what it's going to be, though. I don't know.
I mean, they already made the match, so what else could it be?
Yeah. Maybe the fact...
Maybe, like I said, maybe like whoever wins number one contender, like a future number one contender match. I don't know. That's the only thing that would make sense at this point.
No, that doesn't need to be a favor, first of all. And second of all, this match should already be the main event of night one. You can't tell me that any other match on this card should be the main event of night one, but this one.
Jey and Gunther.
Okay, we need to get into this. Jey and Gunther.
Hey, as I say with a smile on my face.
No, of course. You're the biggest Jey Uso fan. And he should win. Jey Uso's calling you right now to tell you, listen, I agree. I think this hate is unjustified. And it is. I told you over text. I ranted on the build for Jey, or no, I said something on hashtag, right? Is that what you texted me? I think I shit on Jey or something.
You were crying on something. I saw you crying somewhere, and I was like, this is ridiculous.
Well, let's talk about this, okay? This doesn't feel like a World Heavyweight title match. It doesn't. Currently, it does not. The build has been... They're feuding with fucking A-Town Down Under. I think Gunther and Jimmy next week should be fine. If it's a murder of Jimmy Uso, then great. The story being that Jimmy, or rather Jey, is botching because Gunther's got in his head. It is the epitome of AI booking. This is some of the laziest shit I've seen for a World Heavyweight title match probably in history. Maybe since Del Rio and Jack Swagger in 2013. I mean, that's how far we're going here. Do I think the match will be good? I think it'll be solid. Do I think Jey should win? Yes. Do I think he should win? Yes. Do I think he should be world champion for a while? Yes, because he's fucking over as hell. I'm not disputing Jey's popularity. I think people twist that, not with me, but people twist, oh, the build sucks. Jey Uso's terrible. Jey Uso shouldn't win the World Heavyweight Championship. Jey Uso's never been good. Because there's also people disliking the shit on YouTube too. I'm like, where is the disconnect here? Because I go to these shows. You've been to these shows. We watch the shows. These people lose their fucking minds for Jey Uso, dude. It's not polarizing. It's not 50-50. He gets cheered out of the building. So where's the hate coming from? You don't like Jey Uso? Cool. But the guy's got to win the title. But that also doesn't excuse bad booking as far as making this match a bigger deal. Okay, rant over. I want your thoughts.
No, I think they like... Jimmy kind of explained it, but I feel like what they should have done, which they haven't done, is basically like Jey's obviously riding this wave of momentum.
Yep.
Loses the Gunther a few times, wins the Rumble, and like he's kind of been like more lackadaisical, whatever. I feel like they should have gotten his head like, hey, you've been like you're too like caught up in the moment, like you've been resting on your laurels, you've been resting on like even like he looks like he's gotten a little bit bigger, like. You haven't been putting the work in.
That I like, yeah.
Slacked because you let it all go to your head. And like that's what's happening. Like I said, like he's tripping over himself and he's doing all these things that he normally wouldn't do. The botch flip over the top rope. I mean, I think it was just a botch, but they're just gonna throw it in there anyways.
Yeah.
But like maybe they should have put that in the stories. Like you were riding this wave of momentum, which is great, but now you're resting on your laurels. Like Cody, like talking to me, like, dude, where's the Jey Uso? Like that was putting the work in and like all this stuff. Like I feel like you slacked off and like this Jey Uso can't beat Gunther. Like this. Jey Uso that's just yeeting, worrying about doing the up and down and getting the crowd reaction like that. That's not going to win. Like we need the Jey Uso that put the work in and da-da-da-da. Like that's what they should have done. And now I feel like they're kind of getting there.
Hopefully.
Like Jimmy said something like that. He was like, you like the way you are now, like you're not going to beat him. I mean, that should have been the story to begin with. And they really haven't done that. But I'm hoping what we got on Raw will get there. Obviously, I hope Gunther kills, not death-wise, but destroys Jimmy.
Yeah.
And then, like, that kind of gets Jey more serious. Because, like I said, he's kind of, like, hot-dogging a little bit more. Like, needs to get more serious, and I think hopefully that gets there.
I hope it will. And we still, listen, I have to emphasize this, too. We still have, 3 weeks to go, 3.5 weeks to go until WrestleMania? Yes. So they have time. They do have time to fix it, make it more interesting, make it more exciting. It will not matter come Mania because people will still be doing the yeeting. It's going to be Yeetamania. He's going to win the title, and people are going to go nuts. It should absolutely not main event this show. I mean, that would be just criminal. At this point, I love Gunther. Jey's very popular. He already has a fucking main event. He doesn't need another main event. This match should not main event. I also don't think they wasted the Rumble on Jey. Again, you go with someone that is slightly newer. He's been there for 15 years, but like newer to the main event scene, and he's also incredibly over. They didn't waste it. I think they should just do a better job of making Jey a little bit more serious and not just having, Gunther attacks Jey. Jey attacks Gunther. He stands over him. He stands over him.
Do you think, I'm not blaming him at all, but do you think, since he is facing someone like Gunther, who's not, I wouldn't say he's, the most, dynamic character arc, that it's a little bit harder to build because the story, even with Sammy, when he faced Sammy last year, it was like, oh, like you can't beat me,
Yeah.
and like you're a little baby, and you're not as good as me, and I'm bigger than you, and you're the underdog, and I'm the dominant champion. Like I feel like I'm not blaming him at all, but I just feel like the way that Gunther is, like he's a dominant champion. It seems like his story arc is about facing the underdogs and stuff like that. Like I'm not blaming him, but I feel like that's another thing that's like it's harder to get a good story because they're kind of like, oh, you're another underdog, so we're gonna push you like that.
Yeah.
Like even though you have this fan affair similar to Sammy, you're like not big enough, good enough. Da da da.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a factor. I mean, it is very similar to the Sammy build from last year, so I agree with that. I also think, again, I don't want to say it's an excuse. It's going to sound like an excuse. But I do think of, honestly, any match on this card that has really suffered from Mania being like later this year is this match. Because the problem is, it's not like this feud started after the Rumble. Like, these guys were already feuding before that. I don't think this is a feud that is so fucking exciting that it should be going on for 4 months. I mean, it's Jey Uso's at a certain level. Gunther is great, but even his character, to your point, reaches a limit of like, you can't beat me. Okay, we've been hearing that for fucking 3 months. Like, we need more material here. And sometimes they run out of material because there's just not more to say. I think this is a feud, I think, that should have been shorter. Honestly, they shouldn't have done the match at Saturday Night's Main Event. I wouldn't have even done that. That was kind of a waste of time. And you didn't even like that finish anyway, where he got beaten. Like, Jey hits him with
God, hit him with the fucking bazooka. Gets up, powerbomb, 1, 2, 3, we're out.
Yeah.
Terrible finish.
Why even do it? Just play off of the fact that Jey can't beat him, you know? Did it add to the fact that Jay's going to end up beating him at Mania? Yeah, but I think they could have made this shorter, or I don't know. Adding in Jimmy does help because he hopefully kills. You know what I would do next week, though? I was thinking about this. I don't think I've ever seen anyone say this. Gunther destroys Jimmy next week, but won't pin him. Jay's got to throw in the towel. Flashback to 2020. Main event Jey, baby, you know? A little reverse decision because Jimmy threw in the towel for him 5 years ago. I think that'd be an interesting story to tell. They got to go back to what Jey was doing character-wise in the early Bloodline 2023.
Like the right-hand man stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy even said that, like you said. I don't want to give
that on Raw, yeah.
Yeah, they said it on Raw. Do I want to give them credit and say, oh, it's been bad on purpose up to this point? No.
No, don't do it.
That's too much credit. But yeah, I think this can still be fixed. I'm thinking optimistically. I'm not shitting completely on it. I think it can still be fixed. Now, if we're sitting here in 2 weeks and it's still the same thing, then we'll talk about it. But that's where I stand right now. Last thing here, aside from, yes, Fernando, they need Love Ziggler to save Mania. I completely agree. John Cena, Cody Rhodes. Okay? This match is a big deal. Facepalm from Mr. Marceau is how I feel as well. The segment we got this week was virtually, you said this earlier, it was copy and paste, virtually the same as last week, which honestly doesn't bother me that much, just because some of the stuff what he was saying was cool. The champion thing, the spinner belt thing, blah, blah, blah. It did make me worry that Cena's probably losing at Mania, which I never thought I would say before the heel turn, but I think he's got to win this match. If he loses, then this is just a waste of time. If he goes back babyface by Mania, this is even a bigger waste of time. My big thing, and I have to say this, and I said this earlier, if Cena's only here for 1 more week, and we get more of this shit on Monday this coming week, it is an absolute waste of what they could be doing with this heel turn. Is Cody just going to talk to himself for 2 weeks? Again, they could add Cody or Cena to more shows, to more Raws and SmackDowns. Mania is on April 19th and 20th, like you said. It is March 27th. He's advertised for March 31st on Monday, and that's it. If he was advertised for anything else, he would have been added by now. He's fucking advertised for shows in May. So if he's advertised for shows in May, why wouldn't they advertising him for shows in April, aside from the one coming up on Monday, which is still March? Again, I like the segment, but I think this match should feel a lot bigger than it does. So where do you stand with this? Because I feel like it was just more of the same on Monday, when they really should have taken it to the next level. We still don't even have answers for why they never even mentioned The Rock. I mean, why even involve Rock in the first place? It's just crazy right now. I don't know.
We're waiting on the pivot for that, but no, I mean, this segment, I literally, besides Cena doing the whining like he did the week before, this segment was the exact same.
He was acting, the same way, yeah.
And I just didn't really care for it. I thought we'd get a little bit more. We really haven't got any back and forth. It's just kind of like Cena bitching. Cody comes out, tells him he's a bitch, and we move on. Like it needs more. It's a big match. They said no mention of The Rock, so I don't know what that is. It's just classic pivot and move on. But like, this is stupid. Like, if we're not gonna get anything from The Rock, then why did they do it in the first place?
Yeah. Just
because Dwayne thought he had a good idea and like, oh, like I want to do this now. How about if you're not going to be involved, then no. Unless you didn't want to travel, well, because they could always do Zoom. Unless they're going to bring them in when they go back to the States, which I hope to God no. But at this point, like, we still don't know why, like, he aligned with The Rock. Like, he won the Rumble. The problem is he won the Chamber anyways. So like, he didn't have to sell out for The Rock because he already won the opportunity. It wasn't like he sold out to then get the opportunity. The opportunity was already there. Then he turned, and we haven't heard anything about it since. They showed the fucking video package the night after on Raw, and we haven't had a mention or a video of him and Travis Scott since. It just screams like Dwayne had an idea, and Ario Emanuel gets bricked up for The Rock. They threw him on TV, and we're going to do this stupid idea, and then now they're like, Triple H and Cody are probably like, this is fucking stupid. And then Cena's just going along with it, but like just doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense. And it really feels like they should be putting more effort into either explaining that or why now. The best part is that Cena, so why was he acting all positive and happy-go-lucky when we saw him a month ago? But now he's like, fuck all of you people. Like, it's such an abrupt shift. Like I said earlier, it legitimately feels like AI is writing his promos. Like, people are like, oh man, this is so great. I never thought Cena would talk so bad about us. This is amazing. Yeah, it is cool. But here's the problem, though. It doesn't make sense. We said that 3 weeks ago. I said that last week. You said it last week. And we're saying it now. It doesn't make sense. Like, when he's
also just not great material either.
No, it just feels like, and Cena's an actor, so he knows how to read scripts and memorize lines. He's been the master of it. I mean, he's not a great actor, but I mean, he's good enough.
Like him, like, I feel like he, like you said, like when he's like trashing the fans, it screams like he's reading it off ChatGPT, like, you are horrible people.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds terrible.
It sounds terrible. Like, again, it's right there. It is right there to say, I turned on you because I'm desperate, dude. I'm desperate to win 17. He mentioned 17 on Monday, but he didn't say anything about being desperate. He's just like, I've always hated you. I think you didn't hate me a month ago when you came out and were like, oh, I'm doing the tour for the fans. And he's still wearing the dumbass gear. Come on, man. He's still wearing the same thing that says Rise Above Hate on it. What the fuck? And people will try to turn it and be like that. That's the point. That's the point. It's all meta. They've been planning this for 5 years. It's the long-term storytelling. What'd you say?
They got you, hook, line, and sinker.
They got me. It's been the plan. Rock had the 3-up. You know, I at one point did entertain that idea for like 5 minutes. Then I'm like, you know what? No, this is just a pivot. I'm not going to give him that much credit. This is clearly a pivot. And it could have been even worse if they turned Cody, which would have made even less sense. Heel Cena is great. The problem is that it doesn't make any fucking sense. The best part about it, I can't wait. I tweeted this the other day. When Cody or Cena inevitably goes back babyface in a month or two, and he's like, I'm sorry, guys. Like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean any of that. You know, we're back together. I said I was breaking up with you guys. I'm sorry, guys. Like, I didn't mean... Like, it's going to be... The apology tour is what it's going to turn into for John Cena. Man, what are we fucking doing?
I can't wait.
He's got to win the title. Like, what he was talking... I'm going to take the title. I'm going to retire as champion because I'm the last real world champion. Fuck Ric Flair, basically, is what he said. I was like, yes. I need that. Also, you're also missing the elephant in the room here. Why isn't he bringing up that Cody is so beloved? Cody is in the spot that Cena's in, or was in 15, 20 years ago. People hated John Cena. So why isn't he talking about Cody? About like, Cody, I'm jealous of you. Fuck you. Instead, Cody comes out, just runs down Cena, as he should. But then Cena doesn't say anything. He just walks away. And I would be a little bit more optimistic if they were building to, a big blow-off, like, promo exchange, a war of words. Bro, Cena's only announced for one more show. They only have 1 week to build to this. And then they have another 2 Raws after that, and SmackDowns. Is Cody going to be on Miz TV again? Who cares? Like, the match should feel, like the entire card, should feel bigger than it does. I think it's a big match, but there's so much they're leaving left here on the table, especially if Cena goes back babyface by Mania, which would be fucking terrible if that happens.
Yeah, I mean, it has been good, and I'm interested to see where it goes, honestly.
Me as well. We'll get back to it next week. I'm just going to read the last of these chats here as we head on out of here. But Maria said it herself. I've said this a few times. I completely agree. Love Ziggler would make this the greatest Mania of all time. I can't stress that enough. Tyreek is not here. Tyreek's going to no-sell it because that's what he always does. He comes in, says hi, leaves, doesn't explain what Love Ziggler is. We're all still fucking wondering, and then he just takes off again. God bless. But Love Ziggler would make this whole shit better. Ahmed had said the story is that Solo believes Jacobs deserves to be U.S. champion and would bring the title to the Bloodline, but deep down he wants the title all by himself. I could see Solo costing Jacob the title due to his jealousy of Jacob having the shine and the fans talking about Jacob. Yeah, I don't know. But the problem, I like that, but the problem is they need top heels, and Jacob's like a top heel. Like, if they turn Jacob babyface, I mean, Solo's not exactly a great babyface either. I don't know how many people would give a fuck about Solo Sikoa as a babyface.
He's not a top heel either, so.
He's not a top heel either, but they need heels, so I like that, but you're going to put the belt on Knight just to take it right back off of him? I mean, I guess that is the story. They really haven't communicated that well, and we only have like 3 weeks till Mania, so they don't have a whole lot of time to get into that either. But we'll see. Abu Sika was asking Y2J and Kane did what in all caps? Yeah, he did piss in his coffee or something. I mean, that was the story in 2000, and then that set up their match. Let's see, a lot of chats here. Johnny was saying, I want to see a feud start over a candy bar, soda, or French fries. The Punk and Cena feud actually 15 years ago started over a Diet Coke because Cena did an attitude adjustment to someone through a table, and it spilled Punk's Diet Coke. So that actually has happened. That has happened before. Flair did indeed murder Tiffany on SmackDown. I agree, Fernando. Abu Siko said Friday's segment also almost made him want to see Charlotte win at Mania because Tiffany was so bad in that segment. I wouldn't go quite that far, but Tiffany does have some growing to do in the mic. I agree. He said, Nathaniel said, I was hoping we would get Big E versus Kofi and Xavier. It's not happening. Clearly, if that was going to happen, Big E would have been back by now. They squandered all the heat that they received since turning on Big E, Fernando says. I agree with that. A lot of yeets in the chat. No yeet. A lot of yeets. There are some yeets in the chat. So, I mean, you're not the only one that likes Jey Uso. I will say that. Yeah, just a lot of yeets, I could say. Let me see. Richie had also said, I'm with Johnny. Remember when Booker T and Edge had a wrestle? Yeah, over a shampoo commercial? We had talked about that earlier. It seems like we're getting AJ. Oh, dude, I forgot about AJ Styles and Logan Paul. I completely forgot about that. I mean, the match will be great. He goes, Richie said I could potentially care less, but the match could cook. That's how I feel about this card.
I forgot about that until you mentioned it, honestly.
They haven't furthered that in like 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, man, what are we doing here? I think Heyman is playing both Punk and Roman, Fernando says, and will help inside with Seth at Mania. We've talked about that before. I don't think that happens. I don't think
it happens either.
Yeah, I don't think it happens. I don't think it probably should happen, but it might be interesting. Richie had mentioned the build has been very lackluster in comparison to last year. However, I think the overall show, once fully booked, could have the potential for a lot of great matches. Of course. I mean, that's like with AEW too. The build sometimes sucks, but you know you're going to get great matches. So I completely agree. Prices always go up for any product when demand is hot. No, I listen, I get it, but it's just a business. Alexis is talking about reading the new Hunger Games book. Yeah, I mean, just a lot of good chats here talking about the Jey Uso stuff. Yeah, Richie had mentioned, I love how people online suddenly started caring for Austin Theory when he got squandered, as if he hasn't meant anything in forever. Fake love, fickle fans, but it doesn't discredit how over Jey is. I mean, I got to say this.
I've been defending Austin Theory for years at this point.
Who I'm speaking to right now is the biggest real Austin Theory fan I've ever met in my life. And I love Austin Theory as well. But this is not fake love right here. We laughed about
remember when Triple H said we're babies because he lost whatever? Remember he cashed in? He's like, oh, he's got a plan. It's been downhill ever since.
Remember he beat John Cena at WrestleMania?
And John Cena told me, even if you beat me, you're going to be a loser. And he's been a loser for the last 2 years, basically. Yeah, I remember that.
Weren't you there for that show?
I was. It was terrible. I almost fucking hopped the rail.
I remember you texting me what was that segment? That shit was amazing. I was like, what the fuck? That still does not make sense. That was the real John Cena heel turn. Why isn't he telling that stuff to Cody? You'll never get over. No one cares about you, blah, blah, blah. That was the real John Cena heel turn. Man, I can't believe they did that. He beat Cena, and it still did not benefit him at all. That is just crazy. Ahmed was saying to Cook earlier, is The Rock not appearing at Mania? No, I think he'll appear. At Mania, but I just don't think he shouldn't be the ref or anything. I think he'll show up when it's convenient for him, but he's not going to show up when it matters on Raw and SmackDown to build the actual match. It's fucking stupid. Daniel said, you're not being patient. Enjoy the ride Dwayne is taking us on, right? With an upside-down smiley face. Are you not enjoying the ride that Dwayne is taking you on?
I don't know what ride I'm supposed to be riding, so not really.
What is this ride? I'm trying to think of a Disney equivalent to this ride. It's not a good ride, I'll tell you that much. It's a fucking bad ride. The same people who wrote Craven and Madden Web are writing the script for Cody versus Cena. I wouldn't go quite that far, but we might be getting to that point. Definitely feels AI generated, I'll tell you that much. Nathaniel asked if we'll see Cena and Randy at Backlash for the championship. Yeah, I think so. We talked about that last week. I hope so. If Cena wins the title, who beats him? Probably Cody getting the belt back. If Cena wins the belt to Mania, Mr. Marceau, who beats him? Probably Cody again, right? Or would it be Punk or someone else, you think?
I kind of want to see Rock, or not Rock. Randy.
Wait, what?
I just had a brain lapse. No.
No, I'm clipping that. You just want to see Rock beat Cena for the title?
No.
Oh, God. Would it be Cody, though, you think?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, probably. Ahmed said, Cena's basically cutting the same promo. Wait, what the fuck? Wait, hold on. What news? Okay, Alexis just texted me something. I'll look at that in a second. I'm hoping they make Austin Theory babyface, but who knows? That ship sailed. I'm sorry, Nathaniel. That ship sailed like a year ago. At this point, who would even give a shit? Who would even care?
I mean, they've been teasing it with him and Waller. Nothing's came out of it.
No, that's another story they teased that went nowhere. Yeah, Ahmed said...
Maybe back. Hey, honestly, they'll save that for Backlash.
Theory and what? Waller? Backlash is going to be fire at this rate if you're adding all these matches. Richie said RJ with the massive Freudian slip. He really wants Rock to win.
No, I was thinking about something totally else that came out. No Rock. Mea culpa.
Mea culpa, exactly. Ahmed said Cena cutting basically the same promo should have cut 12, 13 years ago. Yeah, exactly. That's the problem. The timing sucks. He should have cut this a long time ago when it would have made more sense. Ahmed, so this is what Alexis texted me about, and Ahmed had said the same thing. We have a new SmackDown ring announcer, Mark Chinook. No idea who that is. Does that name ring a bell?
Already used to announce like boxing, it looks like.
Okay. You don't know who he is, though?
No.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. We'll see on Friday.
Yeah.
We'll see on Friday how he sounds. Daniel had also said Cena eviscerated Theory. Can't believe Theory agreed to that. Interesting. Yeah, he definitely eviscerated Theory. That was a complete fucking burial. And Daniel had also said, and Mark Chinook sounds like my Love Ziggler nickname. Have you figured out your Love Ziggler nickname yet?
Not yet.
You still got to figure out what that means first.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it means, so I can't give you an appropriate nickname yet.
I agree. Maybe next week. Maybe by next week we'll come up with our Love Ziggler nicknames. Let us know what your Love Ziggler nicknames are in the chat as we wind down here. Thank you for tuning in. As always, we'll close it out there. We'll talk more about the hopefully less underwhelming Road to WrestleMania build next week here on WrestleRant Radio. WrestleRant.com, WrestleRantRadio.com, live every Thursday here on YouTube. And be sure to subscribe to find out when we're going live, when we're putting up the video, blah, blah, blah. Mr. Marceau, full of rants every single week. You never want to miss it. Like the video. We appreciate the support. And, Ahmed said, I don't know him as well, but I should have told you guys the news. Thank you for breaking the news. I'm glad you told us the news here on the stream. We'll get definitely back to it next week. Mr. Marceau, any parting words as we get closer here to WrestleMania?
I got nothing for you right now.
Nothing for me right now. Well, enjoy the weekend, brother. I'm sure we'll talk next week, of course, as always.
See you later.
See you, brother. All right, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. As always, we appreciate it. We'll catch you right back here on the next episode next Thursday. Until then, have an awesome one, folks. For Mr. Marceau, I'm Graham GSM Matthews. We'll catch your ass down the road.
Join Graham GSM Matthews and RJ Marceau every Thursday as they run down their weekly wrestling rants, offer expert analysis, host exclusive interviews, and more. Subscribe today on all your favorite podcast platforms and never miss an episode of WrestleRant Radio.